Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. I'm TCaptainX, and today we're going to discuss the long-range meta after the Season 3 Reloaded update in Warzone 2. Now, I've done something different than I normally do in these videos. I've actually put together an Excel sheet and color-coded everything to try to make it as easy as possible for you guys to understand the strengths and weaknesses of these different guns. Now, these rankings are going to be a little bit subjective, but I have based a lot of this off actual data from TrueGameData.com, so big shout out to TGG for making all these stats available. I'll also say that this is the closest the meta's ever been. It's actually a pretty balanced meta, and you could use any guns on this list to be very competitive. And even there's a lot of guns that I didn't include that are still great options, especially on Ashika Island, since we don't need those super long range, no recoil fights. Now, to give a quick explanation of how my chart works for the guns over here, I did color code these whether or not the gun got buffed or nerfed in the update. The Hemlock did catch probably the largest nerf. 5.56 and M13 got some pretty good buffs. HCR got a tiny buff. TAC 56 and Kastov 762 got very small nerfs, and then the guns in white did not get touched. I've ranked these in 4 different categories. Time to kill, so the Cronen Squall is going to be the best time to kill option with a 10 and a 10. Hemlock is going to be the best option for recoil control, so 10 out of 10 means it's got the least recoil. I also have mobility in here, and for mobility, I'm considering both kind of reload times and actual movement speed, ADS time, all that kind of into one category. And then lastly, damage per mag, or DPM. That's how much damage you can put out before you need to reload. So LMGs like the RPK and HCR are going to be really good because they have those really big magazines, but their trade-off is they have less mobility and that slow reload time. Now, I want to explain the top 5 when it comes to their time to kill, and this is from TrueGameData.com. So first, you're going to see the Cronen Squall in green. It is the best when it comes to time to kill. It is dominant at all ranges, but remember, the trade-off is it has a lot more recoil. So for Ashika Island, you can make a case that Cronen is the best gun for like a mid to high level player, but on Mazrah, it's going to be trickier because in those super long range engagements, it's going to be a lot harder to hit your shots compared to something like the Hemlock. But the Hemlock in red, it's the worst in time to kill, but you're probably going to be way more accurate with it compared to any of these other guns. Now, the M4 in yellow, I think is super underrated, especially for Ashika Island. You're going to see its close range time to kill, super competitive with the Cronen. At mid range, it does fall off a bit though, but again, it's going to have a lot less recoil than the Cronen, but definitely more recoil than a Hemlock. So I think it's a little bit trickier to use on Mazrah. The Lachmann 5.56 is in orange, and I'm ranking it the second best overall gun. I love this thing. I've been using it a lot in ranked and Mazrah. Actually dropped my first 20 bomb in ranked with it. Dropped a 22 kill game with the 5.56 in ranked. It's got better TTKs all around than the Hemlock. It's got a touch more recoil though, not much. It just has a little bit more of like a wobble to it, but it's got a faster fire rate. It's got more damage per mag than the Hemlock, so it is a great option and I think very underrated currently. And then the TAC 56 in blue, I think is also very underrated. At mid range, it kind of falls off a little bit in the TTK, but then catches back up, and it does beat the Hemlock at long range TTK, probably just a smidge more recoil than the Hemlock. However, the TAC has really good mobility and better damage per mag than the Hemlock. So again, I think it's pretty underrated, and I think you might see it become more popular here in the near future. Now, I did want to discuss some of the honorable mentions here real quick. The Kastov 762, in my opinion, if you're playing solos, especially Ashika Island solos, it is insane. And I would probably say this is the best solos gun. And the reason I say that is I think to have the true meta build where it has good low recoil, you need to run the 30 round mag, the default 30 round mag. So it really struggles in the damage per mag department because of that. And with its recoil, it's more better at mid range. So it's going to struggle in those longer range fights. HCR, RPK, I think are the best 2 LMGs. A lot of the other ones are great and they're kind of neck and neck. I just think these 2 are the best. So you might as well stick with them if you want to go with an LMG and have that bigger magazine. And the M13 got a big buff. I like the M13 before it got buffed. So I think the M13 you could make a case is even higher up in here in the kind of the middle tier pack. Great option on Ashika Island, and maybe a decent option even on Mazrah also. All right, so let's get in and actually explain some of these loadouts here. Now, I am going to give a few different options depending on if you're playing Ashika or if you're playing Mazrah ranked and what I'd recommend here. This is what I'm running for Mazrah ranked for my Hemlock build here. So Field 250 barrel to give you the more recoil control range, all that. FTAC Ripper 56. Overall, this is your best recoil control attachment. Now, I do want to quickly explain the difference between this and the Edge 47. F-Tac Ripper is going to have better aiming stability, so less of that aiming sway. Edge 47 has less of that aiming stability, but a little bit better movement speeds. They both do the exact same when it comes to recoil control though. But overall, for a long range build, that aiming stability is a very important stat to have. Now, I also want to explain the difference of when do you run the Harbinger D20 versus something else like the Echoless 80. So in short, they're the same when it comes to range and bullet velocity differences. However, the Harbinger is going to give you just a little bit more recoil control, whereas the Echoless is going to have a lot faster aim down sight speed. So on Mazrah or ranked, I would say go with the Harbinger, but on Ashika, or if you just want a little bit faster build, stick with the Echoless. 45 round mag is the biggest one we got. Definitely want to use that on the Hemlock unless you're playing solos. Optics, it's completely up to you guys. Aim op has been my personal favorite. You can use any of the red dots, but I like to stay with just the 1x zoom personally. Now, another build that I've run that I really love for Ashika specifically is taking off the underbarrel and putting on high velocity. I think overall, this is probably what most people are going to like because this helps with that recoil control. But again, on Ashika, where you don't need those super long range fights, I do really like running the high velocity because it feels completely hit scan. So next we've got the Lachmann 556. Again, this is the build that I was running for Mazrah ranked. I did recently post a video on this one where I ran the iron sight build. So I took off the optic and I put on high velocity instead. You could definitely run that on ranked as well if you want. Just know that I like the optic for the really long range engagement. So on Ashika, I normally run iron sights. On Mazrah, I run it with an optic. Again, if you're going to run on Ashika, I'd switch to Harbinger for the Echoless, but it's kind of up to you. Very similar build to the Hemlock. The barrel is going to give us that range recoil control bullet velocity, F-Tac Ripper, and then the 60 round mag, which is really nice for trios and quads. But if you're playing solos, duos, you could go with that 40 round mag for a little bit snappier, faster gun. Now, I also want to quickly say I tend to tune my optics to close. It gives you a little bit wider field of view on your optic. It gives you a touch more visual recoil, but to me, I just like that personally. You can totally tune this to far if you prefer that though. Oh. Nah, yes, bro, this gun is so good. Shooting out there. Next, we've got the Cronen Squall. Again, this is that like insane TTK, but more recoil. So we're Tempest GH50 muzzle because we really need that extra recoil control for this one. So that's why we're running a muzzle and not one of the ones that help with bullet velocity. Again, F-Tac Ripper. Barrel is going to help with the range and recoil control. 50 round drum. You could use a 30 though if you're not playing trios or quads. And then again, the aim op. Now, I also ran another build for Ashika that was a little bit faster where I took off the barrel and then I ran high velocity instead. But I would say most people are probably going to like this build because it have more recoil control, and definitely on ranked you're going to want to run it with the barrel.
Well done.
Nah, dude, this thing is crazy. It's crazy. Next, we've got the TAC 56. Again, I think this one is crazy underrated, and especially because it's got the clean iron sights, you can get an extra attachment out of it. Now, again, if you want to run an optic, especially for like ranked on Mazrah, I would say take off the high velocity and put on your optic. But like I said, this one I think is so incredibly underrated. So barrel, again, same idea, extra range, bullet velocity. Harbinger, again, switches for the Echoless if you want a little bit faster, snappier build. F-Tac Ripper, and then that 60 round mag.
No, I don't answer. No way, dude.
I'm simply him. Next, we've got the M4. Again, this one is super underrated on Ashika Island, and it just has that really good close to mid-range time to kill. Very similar concept in these builds. Once again, barrel is going to give us that extra range, recoil control, and bullet velocity. Going with the Echoless since I like to use on Ashika. Now, another option, you could definitely put a muzzle that helps with the recoil control more. Probably like an F-Tac Castle Comp would be a really good option for that. F-Tac Ripper, and then that 60 round mag. Although you could definitely go 45 if you want, like in duos, trios. The iron sights are okay on the M4. I'm not a huge fan, but you could take that off and put on like a recoil control rear grip or potentially high velocity.
There's a guy towards that building. He might have ran back.
And then I did want to show the Kastov 7.62 since this is probably the best solos gun in my opinion. This build's a little bit different because we are going to stick with that default mag, but I feel like you need to run an optic. The iron sights are okay. I've played with them, but overall I definitely prefer the optic for those longer range fights. So I'm going with a blue dot, but again, you can run the aim op or whatever optic you prefer. Barrel is going to help with that range and recoil control. I am going with the Bore 490 muzzle. This one helps a lot with that recoil control and really smooths it out. F-Tac Ripper, and then high velocity. Since we're not using a muzzle that helps with bullet velocity, I feel like high velocity is a necessity. If you wanted to run the 40 round mag, I would say take off high velocity and put on a 40 mag, but the bullet velocity is going to be really bad and you're going to struggle to hit shots a little bit with this at longer ranges. I'll take those. Thank you. I'll take that. I'll take that too. And I'll take that as well. Thank you much. So that's going to wrap things up. If you wanted to see the loadouts that I didn't cover here on that chart, I will link videos to them here. I just have already covered them in other videos and I was going to show every single 10. I am going to probably do a close range meta video like this here in the very near future. So if you're new here and you like this style of content, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. Also, we stream here live on YouTube. If you want to come check out a live stream, ask me questions, hang out, all that good stuff. My goal with the channel is to help you guys get better and just have fun with Call of Duty. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you in the next one.